Table Talk is not your typical D&D TTRPG podcast. We are not here to run you through our whole campaign.
We're here to talk about everything else in the space of tabletop roleplay.
I'm your host, Alejandra Wilhelm.
And I'm also your host, Mariah Gresham.
And we're your tabletop roleplay girlies. Alrighty, and we are live yet again with another episode of Table Talk. We have a very special guest episode where we're being joined by some gals and some gobbies. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and all the cool, exciting stuff you're getting up to.
Yeah, my name is Olivia Rose McCain. I'm just one of the gals behind Gals and Goblins, an actual play TTRPG podcast, and we have another gal here.
Yeah, hi, I'm Campbell. I play Esta of House Ruadan on Gals and Goblins.
Oh yeah, I play Beans. Gals and Goblins is all about. I'm trying to think. I'm reinventing our spiel on the fly right now.
We love an on the spot rebrand.
That will sum up a D&D campaign in an elevator pitch.
We have a lot more audience feedback from last time I've written our pitch, but we're described as a good, cozy, kind of casual play podcast. We go to an adventuring academy for young women and get up to antics there. And really our big thing is we made the podcast as kind of a segue into helping people find a community through TTRPG that haven't been traditionally welcomed at the table. In our experience, it's traditionally a masculine table. So for us, having a mostly feminine table was big. And and also teaching that you can play casually and it's all made up and it's okay. And you can make it up and just have fun with your friends the whole time. And that's what we're all about.
The rules don't matter. The love you have for your friends is what's most important.
That's what matters.
And cats named Beans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And cats named Beans, yes. Yeah. Which I love wholeheartedly because like we identify so much with that. We also have like an all-female table and predominantly play at all-female tables. We might happen to have a male DM, but I'm currently the DM at our home game. So it's literally all women at that table and it's chaos.
But
awesome.
It's great. And we also have like a Magic Academy situation. So it like very much is in the same line.
I feel like ours is a lot more traumatic. Ours is not cozy. We have cozy moments, but we also have moments of just deep, unfettered emotional damage. And so,
what is a D&D
cozy
campaign
moments where we live for the drama
without trauma?
Yeah, I'm sure we're getting there in Gals and Goblins.
Yeah. I love that. But yeah, you mentioned, and like the topic of the episode as well is, you started Gals and Goblins to kind of create a more inclusive space for people that were not traditionally welcome at the table. And that's something that's like extremely important to us because again, we're also an all-female table. We're like mostly like queer table as well. And so that we've talked a little bit about how that plays a huge part in like the worlds we build, the stories we tell, and how we now present ourselves as like a podcast and things like that, and kind of creating that community. How do you think that like affects your specific game, and like what has kind of been emphasized there?
Yeah, and creating the game, I think it's been really. I think people can tell when they listen to it, like how close of a like friend group we are, and also the world that we've created lends itself really easily to people being able to kind of imagine themselves in our world as well. We've been like growing a really lovely Discord server throughout this, which was one of our main goals, was like creating a really lovely community through a Discord server. And we have a group of friends in there who have started like creating their own like Frogmont OCs and like creating like how imagining like what they're doing when all of the story events are happening. And I think one of them is going to start like putting a yearbook together of like everyone's little pit crews that they put together of their Frogmont OCs. So it's been really cool to see like sort of the environment that we create at the table kind of rolling over into the community that we're trying to create is that like they can tell like how much love we have for this world, that they also want to like join in and like join the world too and put themselves into it. So that's been really cool.
Yeah, we also we have a male DM. He's my partner, so he's very cognizant of feminine issues, and he takes a lot of care in doing a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure he's informed and educated and making a world that is like, it's a female adventuring academy, so obviously there's women, but he does a lot to bring in like any queer representation, any I have a chronic illness, I have diabetes, type 1 diabetes, so like does a lot of work to bring in like differently abled characters as well, because that's something that I find important. So I think there's also like a very cognizant like bringing more representation into our game that we like might not have around our table because it's just us currently. And it also, we try to bring in guests to do like indie TTRPGs to play with us, and guests that kind of help expand that inclusive nature that we can't like encompass with just ourselves.
Yeah, and it's been really cool to see how people as they like get through all of our episodes, like because we kind of bring them in with the D&D that they know and love, you know, and then through all of our bonus episodes we kind of like introduce them to all of these new things, and they realize like, oh, it's not that hard to learn all these different other all these other systems because you know, oh, the gals are doing it and they're making it sound really fun, and like and then there's people in the Discord who are like, I would love to play that, do you have like the link where I can buy it or like download it? So it's been really cool to see how people have like, we've like made them excited about these, like, and introducing them to like these new things in a really comfortable way, you know. It's not so
that
scary.
truly is the pipeline that you're like, I'm gonna lure you in with D&D,
exactly,
and then just fucking thrust you at some other shit.
But also like D&D is kind of a behemoth, like mechanics wise at first, so it's like if you figure out the mechanics of D&D, then it's very easy to pitch like a D6 system, or you know, like the exploding dice system, like different things like that, where I do not know the proper name of any other dice systems because that's not stored in my brain. But like, and those seem much easier to pick up after you have D&D.
Yeah,
and most TTRPG creators are like also probably got into the TTRPG space through D&D, so it's like a lot of that language like really carries over and like holds true to all of these other systems. So it's like, yeah, it's like not as difficult as you think it's gonna be, you know? It's
it's like the common factor that kind of unifies everybody, and then it's like, hey, we're already at a baseline with each other. Let me show you perils and princesses.
Exactly.
We've also we've definitely like skewed towards some GM-less TTRPGs, which I feel like, because a big barrier is like finding your GM or DM, or sometimes it's like, oh, I'm a forever DM, but I don't have players. So I've found, and it was tough to like make the switch, but I think we really also like a GM-less system. I think Powered by the Apocalypse is technically GM-less, which a lot of these
I've
are
heard
like
good things about that one.
I'm pretty sure most of the ones that we've played are like, oh, this is based off the Powered by the Apocalypse system, which is just a lot of like, it spreads the responsibility around the table to keep the game going rather than everybody's relying on one person to rein them in. And it takes a second to like find your balance, and then once you get it, it's like, oh yeah, we can all play at the same time.
That's really cool.
I love that. That's really interesting. I haven't even heard of it before. I think like, for example, like in our game in Strixhaven, we do a really good job in the sense of like, I am a first time DM, as in like that's my first ever campaign. So I opened up a lot of the world building to my players, and we really like collaboratively created it all together. And then even as we go, there's just points where I've given them a structure, and then I just hand them the scene, and I'm like, all right, ride on into the sunset, my pretties, and I will be here to kind of keep us on some kind of rail, maybe.
To figure out what to do with it. Yeah, that's my favorite thing about our Strixhaven campaign is like, I think it's easy one because like it came from a homebrew world that like you kind of had already made with like Oak and Kay and some of our like online homies. But the fact and the degree to which we like co-create the world and the NPCs and like how the guilds work and how the government works and where our parents fit into things and like when we're fleshing out even like little stuff, like what an NPC's room looks like. And we can like send you a little Pinterest. Like it's just fun because we have more like, I don't know, like buy-in or involvement in it because it's a world we've also helped create.
Yeah.
And I think I tried to do a similar thing with the Vampire the Masquerade and making like letting you just make whatever characters you want. And
pause. Hang on. Sorry. My dog.
Wild Doge.
My dog.
And Enki Doge. He attacked.
She's been taken care of. Sorry. She's a very tiny dachshund and makes a very loud noise.
Very loud.
Get that passionate before.
That checks. They're very long, and that's where they store all their sound.
Yes.
My God.
It's in the tube. But yeah.
Start over with like that's what you're trying to do with BTM.
Okay. But yeah, I think I've tried to do a similar thing with the VTM campaign, and the same way of like we're Fall of London, but we're Fall of London by like the skin of our teeth, and like I'm stealing the NPCs, and we're gonna do vampire court politics, and then when I get bored of that, then we'll bring in like the Inquisition, because I don't want the humans to kill all the vampires yet. There's too much like tea to be had, but like letting because our VTM party is the same party as our Strixhaven party. It's Ollie, myself, and then our friend Alyssa and our friend Bex. So it's just we switched, and it's very chaotic, and everybody plays wildly different characters. And I've just figured out how to start getting them on the rails of like how they fit into the world. And I'm like,
it's definitely
but
like that's an art. I DM'd. It probably wasn't me, Campbell, and then Lily, and then some other people. It was like our second campaign we ever played together. I DM'd it, and that was the hardest thing, is like, okay, how do I put them on a semblance of rails? While like I preferred the homebrew method, definitely. I don't know, it felt more approachable to me, because it was like, if you hand me a book that the world's built and the story's built, and then I have to try to fit my players into it, that seems so much harder than like, let's build a world that we can't break because it's not fully fleshed out yet.
Yeah.
And then put them in it. And then when your players and you get to build this world together, it just feels so much more lived in than trying to like fit in and learn all about a new world. And then I feel like that's when you get into sessions that are like, let's talk about lore because we don't really know what's going on, but it's all established. Whereas like if you come up with it on the fly, you're not going to break anything, and it will turn out much more beautiful than if you like try to adhere to something that somebody else created.
Yeah. There's definitely like a little bit of a pressure when you're working off of like a pre-made module, like you said, where like you can get things wrong, and then like, you're already having a lot of pressure on yourself as a DM, and like trying to make sure everything goes right, to then be like, fuck, I got this completely wrong.
Like, damn, my party killed the man that was supposed to be in the quest.
There's like 60 pages I now have to throw out because we killed this main guy. As opposed to like the having it be homebrew. I started Strixhaven thinking I was gonna like go straight off the module, because I was like, surely that'll make my life easier. And then I think we barely like touched a couple of like the preliminary like first questy stuff. And like I was alluding to this like random goo shit that was going on in Strixhaven, and I was going off the book. And then I was like, fuck this shit, because everything else that's going on with my characters is so much more interesting. And now they're randomly going like, so what happened to that goo shit? I'm like, don't worry about the goo shit.
I feel like the goo is going to make
over the goo
reappearance in the 11th hour and just be something really heinous.
End game. End of campaign 6 years from now. The goo shit's like, coming to bite your ass.
It's a giant like what are they called? The cube, the gelatinous cube.
The gelatinous,
gelatinous.
The horrible
cube.
Black varnish goo of like, it's something. I don't know. I think they're goo inside. I don't know.
You know, goo has come up in a lot of the campaigns that I've played. That's what this is reminding me
of. A lot of goo content for sure.
The fact that
so much goo content.
The Strixhaven module has goo at Frogmont. We have goo. I'm gonna have to take that up with our DM.
Stole it straight out. No, and like, it was just like something that like I kept reading, and the more I read the book, the more I was like, I felt like there was a lot of missed opportunities with random things that they do introduce that I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then like nothing gets done with it. And I'm like, what the fuck, Richard? No. And so I'm like,
what about that?
I've taken the bits that I like, and then, you know, they tell you like Strixhaven's a magic academy that just could be dropped anywhere. And I was like, you don't say. And then I have this whole ass world to drop it into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I approach, like, this metaphor just occurred to me, but I think I approach, like, world building and running games a bit like I do cooking, and the fact of, like, I like to start with a recipe because I like the safety of having a little bit of suggestions of, like, here's the ingredient list, and, like, here's the, for, like, a game, like, here's the NPCs that are already built out or some things, but then, like, about a third of the way into it, I'm gonna get annoyed with that recipe and say, fuck it, I do what I want, and I'm just gonna do what I want. And I think it's the same with like my anxiety likes the option or like the scaffolding to rely on, but I never end up sticking to it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I haven't GM'd yet, so I don't have much to weigh in yet.
Do you want
but
to?
I'm excited. Yes. Oh my gosh. I want to so bad. I've been looking at I learned about this Warrior Cats TTRPG when I was like 12, and I've been thinking of it every day since then. And it's just like a random, it's like not real. It doesn't like, it's not like owned, but I think like Warrior Cats, like AaronHunter.com just like uploaded it at some point. So there's like no information about it anywhere. But I've been wanting to do a Warrior Cats. Yeah, I've been wanting to do a Warrior Cats game for a while. Yeah.
There's a Discord gang. Am I going to join it? Not for right now. That's for
okay. I'll join that with you, and we'll do our.
Let's just get off the call and RP Warrior Cats for the rest of the evening.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's it, guys.
The Warrior Cats fandom is like people who were like Warrior Cats kids is so niche. But at the same time,
but extensive.
Like, when someone says like Warrior Cats, everyone's like,
yeah.
You know, like, I know exactly who you were.
Yeah. If you said that like in a room of 25 people, at least 12 people are snapping their head towards you.
Yeah.
Truly.
And you're like, we've all connected at a very deep level just in that moment.
Yeah. So like, I've been thinking a lot.
Sorry, go on.
No, you're fine. I've just been thinking a lot about doing Warrior Cats, but then I'm like, oh, should I really make this like little known RP like the first thing I DM ever? I don't know. I guess I should. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All cats all the way down.
You've convinced me.
Full on. It reminds me of do y'all keep up with Dimension 20 at all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the Burroughs End like current stuff, that shit is buck wild. And has very much that energy of just like, yeah, they're cute little stoats. It's gonna get fucking dark, my guy.
The most body horror Dimension 20 has ever done.
Exactly.
Is the Stoat season. And
like, I mean,
I
where else would you put
that
it?
coming, but at some point, like I'll have filmed like me reacting to one moment to like send it to a mutual friend of ours, and at some point we probably need to post that somewhere.
Just upload it.
Because it was just like the disbelief as it progressively got worse, and I'm like, surely this is the bottom, and it was not. There was another level. Like if you've seen what I'm talking about, I'm not gonna spoil it, but
I've only like started that season. I'm so far behind.
I'm very far behind too.
When you hit it, let us know.
It's near the beginning, but you will know when you get to it.
It's within the first 4 episodes, I know, because Ollie and I binged the first 4 while last time you were at my place.
I'm excited to see what
Rick Perry popped off his whole fucking mini OC on that shit.
Well, maybe you guys can corner the market on Dimension 20 reaction videos. I feel like I haven't seen those yet.
Yeah.
I think we could. I believe in it.
Somebody's got to do it, and somebody would watch that. It's me.
Yeah.
It's me. I'm people.
It's just funny. Like I'll watch it a bunch of times. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. Push it through the algorithm with just my watches alone.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's possible. Take it from us. It's possible.
There are definitely 100%. Some TikToks that I have single-handedly pushed higher in
Absolutely.
the algorithm.
You can ask the Gals and Goblins team. Oh yeah, we will make our TikTok soar if we need to. There's 4 of us. We can work miracles.
We can
Y'all make such good content though. Every time you pop up on my feed, I'm like, this is incredible.
I was just about to bring that back to like our topic for today about building community. Is that something we have noticed recently? Is that people similar to what, like, I guess we should have realized this earlier, because it's like, why do people like the podcast? It's because we're all friends and it sounds like you're sitting down at a table, like having a crazy conversation with all your friends. You know, it just sounds like it's very homey in that sense. Like you feel like you're at the table with your friends, was what I mean. I've already said that.
Yeah.
But so we've realized that the like, in the social media content that does better is content that is also feels like you're sitting around the table with us, like having a conversation, and you're all like, you know, clutching your stomachs because you're laughing so hard, you know, like that's. So we've realized, oh, we just need to make content that feels like we're your friends, you know. So we've been doing like would you rather's and like put a finger down, and like those have done so much better. Yeah, it's like people just want to like. Yeah, people just want to feel like they have, like, they're having a conversation with you. They want to feel that, like, friendship and community. So,
yeah, you've inspired me for the next time that we have, like, a home game of doing the whole, like, I'm going to pass the phone to this fucking bitch who can't make a goddamn character without, like, any traumatizing relationship to her family whatsoever.
Yeah. You have to.
That literally started like we were fucking around before a recording session, because that's what we do. Like the first hour, like we're not recording anything. We're gonna fuck around. And I literally just like started it on my phone. I've been talking about it. I was like, wouldn't this be so funny? And I just started it while we weren't doing anything, and it led to like being one of our most watched videos.
Yeah, it was so good.
It also led me to realize that not everybody like has the privilege of sitting at a table where everybody is good friends to start off. And I feel like we hear so many stories of like, oh my God, like me and my D&D party got so close because of it. But I think what we're finding is a lot of people do not have that connection with their D&D group, but they kind of also stay with it because it's like, well, if I don't stay with this group, then like I'm not playing D&D.
I don't get to play.
It's like, this is
Yeah, which I challenge you, because the amount of people on our TikTok and Instagram and in our Discord that have said that, you guys can find each other because
get together.
Yeah.
Right?
And they have
being
been
out here like just kiss. There you go.
Yeah, like you guys are right there.
Yeah, and they have been slowly but surely. We have a couple groups that are getting together in the Discord who are like putting their little games together. Yeah. And I'm so excited to see how they go. Yeah.
Yeah, there's also
I love that.
I'm trying to think. We had a guest who what is it called? Tabletop Town app. It's released now, but it's a really cool app, which I just want to pitch this for anybody who's like, I want a new table. I'm not getting this kind of feeling. It's like the like old school role playing forums. I'm assuming I know some of us were probably on them.
Me too.
Dust off that brain stuff.
Yeah. I used to keep that a secret, and now I'm proud to admit.
Old school RP servers, I'm still on them anyway.
That's true. I shouldn't say that. It's not old school, but I did it when I was younger, and I haven't picked it up since. But it's a whole app designed kind of in that style, but with like formatted TTRPGs and tools. So I'm just throwing that out there as that's another tool of like, if you can't meet in person all the time, which is the fucking bane of any TTRPG table's existence, is scheduling. There are ways that you can do it, like not, what's that word? Asynchronous. There you go.
Yeah. So it's like a little mobile game. So you're just like playing D&D with your friends, but you don't have to be together. It's so cool. Their tagline is play together even when you can't be together. It's like they've got a really cute tagline. But they have like I'm searching for like DM searching for 4 players to do this kind of thing with these rules, you know. So they have like a really great like system for finding a game.
And they also have the safety tools built in, which we're big on safety tools for us. I mean, we're all friends at the table, and like we do not get intense and into traumatic shit just because like that's not what we sit down to play. But I mean, if people do, and that's a very valid way to play. So I like that they built in also to this app safety tools. Also a way of like, if you do get into a table that you started that you don't like, you can like easily exit.
Yeah, that's really
kind
nice.
of dip.
Yeah, we have like our friend Bex is a deep and abiding horror lover, and I'm a new horror lover. So things get a little wonky. So I've given myself leeway, like what's in play and what is not. But
yeah,
no,
but we've thoroughly like talked it through, and also like again, we have the privilege of like these are literally my best friends of several years at this point, and we know each other very well, but we still like sit down and talk it out and make sure we're still kind of playing within everyone's comfort. But we do have a lot more room than probably most have, because I know what I can and can't do. And like, for example, with Mariah, like there was literally a point where I was like, I pitched. So I have like a little council of DMs in my server where I plan everything. And when I was planning Mariah's arc, I knew she's a trauma bitch, and I was going to serve it on a silver platter. And so he was like helping me come up with ideas, and he pitched me something that was fucked. And then I pitched something that was more fucked. And he was like, that's psychotic. And I had to go do a little check-in with Mariah. And I was like, how bad can I get? Because I have very fucked up ideas. And she's like, do it. I'm like, all right. Bet.
And then I came back and I was like, please don't harm, like, because my character's mother had a griffin. And I was like, the griffin must live.
Yeah, I was like, no pets will be harmed.
I get it. Exactly. I get it. Griffin
I was
off
like,
limits.
that's where I draw the line. Like,
harm to animals.
Yeah.
But like, wait, what was Oak's idea? Because we finished my arc. And what happened was... what Ollie did was, so like I generally have very fucked up character concept of like, it was like my character Anya, she's a vengeance paladin to a death god that we homebrewed, and that happened because she was kidnapped, killed, and resurrected as a reborn, but it was Bot's job, so she has like some reborn stuff, some not. We did a lot of like out of session RP with her recovering her memories like the year before she went into Strixhaven. And then her parents have been missing, so we're trying to find her parents because they were taken same time she was. Nice. And so what had happened to her parents was they were underground in a dungeon under Witherbloom campus, and they had been tortured to death, and then their bodies were dismembered and sewn together with also a plant, and that walked in. And I didn't see that coming. Like I at first, after we had that initial conversation, I was like, okay, what's it gonna be? And I was like, it's probably gonna be like her parents are in like this horde of like reborn zombies and she has to stab. And then I stopped guessing. So I was like, I feel like it's gonna get worse if I accidentally give you. But that was far worse than anything I had mentally prepared for.
That is crazy.
Which was awesome. But what was Oak's original idea?
I genuinely don't remember at this point. I'm gonna have to ask him what his original idea, or like look through my logs or whatever. But it was something to the effect of like he had something to the effect of like, yes, they're dead, and like maybe they were experimented on or whatever. I think he gave me the idea of like they're dead and something happened to them after the fact, and they're like either undead or whatever. And then I was like, what if I go Full Metal Alchemist on this bitch?
Oh, fair. That makes sense.
Jeez. Yeah,
I was like, damn.
I've heard a story from a table with a DM that we like originally played with. It was one of her other campaigns, and she was like, "Yeah, this like player character's like partner or mother, somebody closely connected." They're like, yeah, they found him and they'd been tortured over and over and then like healed and then tortured. And they were like, and they found the journal in graphic detail and we went over it. And I was like, that's really great for them. That's
for you. That's a lot.
I love that for you.
We had a fish race in our last.
Yeah. I was like, we made potions.
We had potion glass.
Cat footprints in the snow.
But that should just comes down to like knowing what table you're at and like knowing the people you're playing with and what they like and what they don't like.
Yeah.
And there's got to be like a push and pull of that. Like I think about it for sessions, I think about it when I write. Like you can have those moments of like very intense fear or anger or pain, but then you have to counterbalance them with lighter moments, with fun moments, with things that it can't.
I'm like, here's a baby griffin that you now have.
Yeah.
So like a griffin goes to me now, and like so it can't all be grim dark all the time because I think that gets emotionally exhausting. But you
also
can
have
dip
to have
into that as long as you pull it back.
Yeah. And I think I'm a firm believer that it's not just the GM's responsibility. I think it's everybody's responsibility at the table to make sure that the table is having fun. So it's like finding how you have fun playing D&D or any other TTRPG mixed with how everybody else has fun. And then you have to meld it. Because if you're the person that like, you just do something crazy or like you just have a very specific play style that everybody reacts to like, I didn't really like that. Then it's like, you got to figure out the happy medium or like find a new table because at the end of the day, this is all made up and we do this for fun. So if you sit
and
down,
it is not that fucking serious.
No, it's not. And if you come to play D&D and you dread it every time and you like are making excuses to not go, this is your sign. Find a new table, find a maybe different TTRPG. Like maybe that's not it for you. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like everybody should be having fun. That's why if somebody came at me and they were like, no, you're not like using your character to its maximum ability in combat, I'd be like, I don't care. I'd be like, I
don't give a fuck, my guy.
Yeah. You used that ability wrong. I don't care.
I am building characters for flavor and style. I have never
You're a well-seasoned hoe over here.
Oh my goodness. I am not I don't even know what min-maxing means.
And you don't have to. You don't have to know. That's the beauty
and
of
you
it.
don't have to. No.
Thank you. I feel so safe.
No, yeah. I've 100% been the person to like, and like, I've only just now like started to try to even look at like somewhat optimization stuff. But even then, like half the time I will be like, I know the idea of the character and I want these two classes. And then I go to my friend who knows what the fuck they're talking about. And he's like, that sucks. And I'm like, I want it anyway. And I'm going to make it work for me.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, I need these classes to mix for flavor. And everybody's like, they're conflicting. And I go, that's not the point. Actually, that is the point.
I need it.
There's
I'm
two wolves inside them. It's really,
I want it more. And that just made it more appealing.
That's something we consider a lot in Gals and Goblins is like, what about my character is going to tell a better story rather than what is going to be like, what's going to like hit the hardest in combat and what's going to like be the coolest thing to like mess with my DM's plans. It's like, no, like all of like, he's here to tell the story too. You know, like we're all sitting here trying to create a lovely story for people to listen to. It's like, I'm not going to pick up a feat or like build a character that's just going to be like contrary to trying to, you know, create a nice story together, you know.
100%.
Yeah. Because your DM is there to have fun too. Everybody don't forget that. They're also just playing a made up game.
Yes. Like it's collaborative
100%.
storytelling. And the collaborative aspect of that, people fully just pass
key fucking word.
Pass go, not collect $200, go like straight to jail. Yeah, everything about what you both just said is such good advice and so accurate. And I'm like hiding because, especially Olivia, your point of like, if you dread going to the D&D game, you should stop.
And we've been there.
We've been there too.
Yeah, you drove to my house in Austin and came and backhanded me with that because fully that was me in our last game, to the point like when we started playing Strixhaven, I was so shocked at the difference in my anxiety level in that because of the environment change. And like early on in that campaign, we had a player who stopped playing after a bit, but like I can honestly say I've never, like, while I'm playing a game, wanted to kill another player's character before that moment. And I was like, I played a monk, and I'm like, I could do it. I was like, he's a warlock. I was like,
I could hit that squishy ass.
Yeah, and give me 2 strikes and a flurry of blows, and I can do this problem for all of us. Because he was just so contrary. And like everything about him, and he made everything difficult, and he went against the party. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to punch you or your character in the face, or both.
Yeah, the blur is hard.
It's both.
Yeah, and there's this, and everybody at the Gals and Goblins table, we majored in theater and acting, so we know something about like collaborative storytelling. But there's this beautiful thing, and there's a beautiful thing called being in major and being in minor. And I think this is very important at a TTRPG table to learn, because if you're playing with more than just you will never always be the main character. And if that's why you're playing this, it can't happen. Collectively, you are all the main characters. But it's important to note that if a scene is going on or combat or something, sometimes like Campbell, Esta, that is who's in major right now, and I'm in minor, and then my job, and this is what's fun for me. So again, if this isn't the game you like to play, don't play it. My goal is to make sure Esta can get the best like out of this scene, and whether that's me shutting my mouth for the next 5 minutes, which is usually very important for me to do, or like giving her a wonderful action or setting up a question that I know she's not seeing. Like that's so important at a TTRPG table, is knowing like I'm the main character in the scene and I'm not right now, and learning like those are both very valid. Without minor characters, we don't have major characters.
I could not agree more. Especially in those moments when you recognize, like, you're like, okay, like right now we just got done with one character arc and we're transitioning into the next, and understanding when that moment has shifted. And yeah, like you said, just like supporting that character, and like, yeah, you're still there too, and you're doing your own thing. But I think you phrase it so perfectly, of like, helping that character get presented with opportunities to like talk more about their backstory or whatever, because you're traveling together, and be like, I'm gonna ask you some questions to kind of help you be in the limelight and bring that out, so you can get the full experience of that moment, because either your moment's already passed, or like my moment's coming up and I want the same treatment, kind of thing.
Yeah And then it gets if you find like your character's never in major, if you're like, hey, wait a minute, this one character's getting the most of the story, then that's like, open a conversation with your like DM or GM. It's not I think we model it in a few of we do like study breaks, which are technically like short rests kind of episodes for us. There's times when like one of us will be like, hey, like I had this problem with the session, or I didn't feel like this was responded to in like kind of how the rules are written or properly. I was just like ignored. And it's like, you can have those casual conversations without like it needing to be an attack on your DM or like a critique, because it's like they are doing a lot of work. So it's like, you can bring these things up of just like, hey, I noticed that I'm not getting a lot of playtime like I want. Can we talk about it? Or like, here's some suggestions I have.
Because often like it's not maliciousness. It's just there's a lot to keep track of. And I think it's one interesting thing of like, until you DM everything, like until I had DM'd a session, I didn't know, like I knew it like academically, but I didn't understand the mental and emotional labor of balancing different people's stories and the one-on-one scenes I have, because like I do in my DM campaign similar to what Ollie does in Strixhaven, of like we have like little vignette scenes where it's mostly like one PC and then like the DM or GM playing, like running NPCs or something. So like one, that helps with having those like major minor moments, because even when we're in somebody, like we just finished Anya's big overall arc, and we're going into Bax's character Callista's. So even within that, there's moments where like, yeah, you're still going to have where you go to your club, or you're talking to sorry, you're having drama with your ex, or like whatever is happening, that you'll have those little moments where the light kind of is on you, and it's nice is for the other players to be able to sit back and watch that, because we're all engaged with each other's stories. But from the standpoint of a DM, it is hard and anxiety inducing to make sure you're managing that. And especially like I run, like there's 3 players in my VTM campaign, so like DMs who run tables of like 6, like how like that that would be a lot to manage.
I think was the first table we played, was it 5 or 6?
It was
5 with a DM, right?
It was 5 and a DM, yeah.
I have a
intense.
rule. My rule when I DM, I ain't taking more than 4. And if there's more of you, then we're playing 2 different things, because I think once you get bigger, unless like, I think Critical Role is the best example of like, they understand how many people are at their table and they know how to play like that. And also they're professionals who do this for a living.
And they've played together for decades. So it's like they're very in all the kinks were well worked out before they start.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer.
And even when they bring on new talent, everybody's like aware of like, this is for production value and we're telling a story that is going to be consumed. And they're very good about making sure everyone's having their moment.
Yeah.
Don't believe your table of normal people who presumably don't have like a performance background is going to be able to like be so aware of making sure everybody gets their turn, which then it becomes on your DM, which is really hard. So like if you have 6 people that want to play, my challenge is make 2 different campaigns with 3 people and then bring them together sometimes and keep them apart. But it's like, I just find the bigger the table, there's always going to be somebody that there's always going to be somebody who like maybe is not fully left out, but they're going to feel left out because they're not getting everything that they probably want out of it. And you're probably also not able to do everything you want because you played 2-3 hours. Not everybody has the opportunity to sit down for 6, which I don't like it. We play what we record. We maybe record like 2 hours of playing.
Yeah.
And I remember our very first campaign we ever played, we had to sit down for like 6 hours to play.
It was intense.
And let's just say we all couldn't pay attention for 6 hours. Yeah. So I think there's a big thing of, especially in the world of like actual play podcasts that you get to consume and you're like, wow, this is so cool. And it makes you want to play. Be like cognizant of like, we're doing this because it's entertainment. Like we are playing the game, but there is an underlying current of like, we know people are listening and we know it needs to be entertaining and we know we have to keep it on track. When you play your table with your friends, that might not be what you get. So like,
totally
figure out when you listen to these actual plays what you're liking about it and how you can bring that into your table rather than being like, yeah, we're gonna have such an interconnected plot and everything's gonna tie together and it's gonna be so interesting.
We're just gonna be improv and one-act playing our way through. And it's like, if you want that, like we play very long sessions, but a lot of our
extremely long compared to like
the longest one, the finale session for Anya's arc, I think it was like an 18-hour session, and we took breaks, but it was very, very long.
You're kidding.
And our average sessions, they're no shorter than 6. Usually 6 to 10, I would say, is what we.
Our shortest is 6, and then between 6 and 10. But that arc finale, and like I prepped them ahead of time. I was like, we have a lot to cover. Because we only do it once a month, and like half of them drive in. So we dedicated like a whole weekend
at 8 a.m. We're like, get the fuck up! It's time to dungeon. Like, get your coffee, get your shit together. Stuffing kolaches down people's faces.
See, I don't blame you if you're like, we play once a month. Yeah, I'd be like, we're playing 8 hours.
We're gonna get like 4 sessions in one day.
Exactly.
Yeah, everybody pack your duffel bag and come over to my house. Yeah,
pretty much.
100%.
That's impressive.
Get your Red Bull and a key and just fucking
I start getting to the 3. We start pushing the 3 hour mark sometimes, and I'm like, guys, please, I have to go to bed.
I'm like that on like weeknights, especially. We also play on weekends, so we play Strixhaven on Saturday, and we play our Aldern campaign on like Sunday earlier in the day. But like combat heavy focus things, my attention span will sputter. And like our DM Teddy for the Aldern campaign, he's the only DM that's kept me engaged in like multi-hour long combat situations, which just speaks to his flair and combat and the sheer terror he can evoke during a scenario, because it's always in flux and it's always changing and you never know what the fuck he's gonna pull out. And he just took away our DMPC that's definitely kept us from dying, so that's concerning. That's a December us problem, but
we're shitting ourselves, Carly. We're like, wait, no, we need our daddy, our level 10 daddy needs to stay. What do you mean?
So, like, I assumed he was staying the entire campaign. Like, we're level 4. We're not that, like, we don't have that much HP. But I was like, he can't go. I'm so sorry. We'll have to kidnap him later.
Sacrificial HP, holder.
Yeah. Well, he was like 1v1ing like some of the bigger like monsters and shit, and there's somebody to tend to everything else. And it's like,
he takes a lot of hits, my guy. We need him around.
He's like a level 10 battle master. So it's like he has.
Oh my god, he's gone.
Yeah. Our priority is keeping that man up. I'm like, fuck you, bitches. We need this man, or none of us make it.
Oh no.
But I think that's such a good example of like playing the game that makes sense to you. Like if you're like, we can meet once a month, we're playing 8 hours, fuck yeah. Us, we're like, we can meet like once a week, maybe twice a week, and we're gonna play 2 hours because that's what we have time for. It's like, it's so important that like this game is what make it what you need. And like
Yes.
I would do it because I tend to overplan my sessions, and we'd get like halfway through and I'd be like, oh, we're at the 2.5 hour mark. Guess what? You can just pick up next time where you left off. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like there's
and you
such
already
a
planned it. You already planned.
yeah, exactly. I just feel like there's such a weird that people just get an idea in their head of like, this is exactly how D&D is run, and it's like, no, it's okay, it's made up.
Yeah, there's no right way to do it as long as everyone is having fun. And I think like so much of finding a table, like coming back to that of like trying to find people to play with and tell stories with, is compatibility. And like comparing things like to dating is a bit cliche. Like we do it with therapists, we do it with, but it's kind of like that, right? Because like I think it's also similar to the way of like, you can have like friends that you love that you could never travel with, and then you could have friends that are great to travel with. And it's similar with D&D. I think too of like you can have like there's just a chemistry there, and
you're like, I'll play a one shot with you, but I will not commit a multi-year campaign with this person.
You're like, I can't strap into that ride. I mean, we're very, very fortunate in that like our core group of like our best friends are also all people that like to tell the same type of stories, and so we can just be off to the races and anything. But it like you can find that. It is out there if you haven't found it. But I think like you don't have to have that immediately. If it's like, it's also fine to have one where you clock in and you hit shit for 2 hours on a Wednesday night and then you log off and go to bed and go to work the next day. Like there's no moral superiority over one or the other as long as everyone's having fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's also no shame in like, if you guys meet every time and play a one shot with different characters, with the same characters, like you don't have to make an interconnected story. Like, I think if you have the time, great. But if it's like, I want to play a heist, oh, I want to do a battle of the bands or something, it's like you can just make completely separate things and not interconnect them. And like, that's still fine. And you can play with different people every time. Like, I think there's a lot more opportunity if you can't find that table right now that is like, we're playing for the next 3 years.
Exactly. Because committing to a campaign is again a commitment, both in time and like emotional labor and all of that good stuff. But I think like there's no shame in going and testing things out, testing out a couple one shots, playing with different people, and like you will know once you start finding those people that like just click. And by God, once you do, you're like, hi, bitches, we're never leaving each other. Like, we're playing everything together.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a beautiful thing when it happens, but it's like, it does take some work. Like we played a lot of campaigns before we ended up, and even then, like we one of our friends, Maddie, who started the podcast with us, couldn't like for life reasons just couldn't keep it up, and so it's like also like things shift and change, and that's okay.
Totally. Yeah, I think that comes back to of like knowing like it is okay if circumstances change or if your dynamic with people change, and like a campaign that was once a fit for you isn't anymore. And that goes back to that like not forcing a square peg in a round hole kind of thing. And it's like if it's not working, it is okay to just accept that and ideally leave with grace before things get to a point of toxicity that you leave by like burning the bridge and salting the earth. And I'm calling myself out when I say that. Just like staying in the unhealthy situation until it's so bad that no one can deny it. And then I'm like, cool, now I can go full nuclear. Like, that's not the way to handle things. Do that to yourself.
No.
Yeah, I think the first table we played at, we weren't liking it. It was a lot of like dungeon crawling, and that's not what we're about. Like, we want to be silly and talk to squirrels and goblins and like I would say our misstep is we just kind of ghosted the DM. Like we were like, oh no, we're all just so busy, and then just eventually let it fade away, which like that's not fun either.
No, it's not ideal for sure. Like it is awkward to be like, I don't like the way you do this. But I think you don't have to say it like you can do it. It's not you, it's me.
Yeah, just
exactly. We were newer D&D players at the time,
and that was us. It was totally like we didn't know what we wanted before we got in there, and this was the DM style, and it was like, oh, eventually it's not compatible, and they're like, it's nothing personal. It's like, oh, that's just we don't play the same, and that's fine because there's plenty of people who do play that way.
Yeah, and then we went off and we started a campaign the way that we wanted, in a world that we were more in a way of playing that we were more interested in doing. So it all worked out.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, don't go scorched earth if you're going to leave a table.
Ooh.
Just
ideally not. Yeah.
To be fair, I scorched that earth for reasons unrelated to our game.
If you need to scorch it, that's okay, I guess.
As somebody
who's flamethrower to that bitch.
Well,
as somebody who's very confrontational, again, this comes back to do it the best way for you. If you need to scorch that earth, listen, I'm very confrontational. I'll do it if I have to or if I need to. So
yeah, agreed. But ideally, remove yourself. Like, if situation's not compatible with anything, with friends, with relationships, with fucking don't ideally wait until it gets to a point where you feel like it's time to just burn the world down.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to for example, to take it back to how you were saying, you don't have to stay in a game that you're not super about just because that's your only option. If you're not here, then you don't play at all. That's kind of how we felt because we were all relatively ish new. Some had more experience, but even then, nobody had experienced DMing, and he was our only source to play.
Well, why I didn't leave was except he was the central person in the friend group. He was the DM, and I figured if I leave, if there's a choice to be made between me and this person, the choice will not be me.
Yeah, and it was a lot more complicated and intertwined in our friendships and all that. And but eventually, it was
felt like that, and so it was just a.
It was kind of everybody's feeling that way, and nobody wants to say it.
Yep.
Yeah. It was very much who's gonna be the first domino to fall, and it was me. So, and as soon as I left, literally all of us were like, peace, because if she's not there, I'm not buried in this shit.
Damn
kind of thing.
Once you
full stop
that wall, it was cool, a clean opening, let's go.
Yeah. But it and I think we had that same feeling of okay, well shit, we've left now, burn that bridge, and we don't have a way to play. And all of us agreed, we had tried to play online before, all of us, and me and Mariah are perfectly capable playing online, as well as our friend Alyssa, but Bex was a poor ADHD baby. She was I cannot, I simply cannot
be
on an online game.
Online, and then I'm
yeah.
That's just
none of us could play online.
We've talked about it, and we're if somebody leaves for an extended amount of time, we're just recording it all ahead of time, or you're on a vacation on the show. It doesn't work for us.
Yeah, and we were very much hardcore role play people that needed to be at a table. I need to see your face and how you're reacting to play off of that. So we knew that within ourselves, and we're just kind of sitting around looking at each other and being like, so what do we do? And then I was like, well, I have a pile of fucking D&D books that I collected just because I liked looking at them. So
me too.
Might as well do something with it.
Oh my goodness.
It looks like it's
but I think it's very much in that it's very much that element of even if you feel you have no options if you leave or whatever, it's you do. There's resources like what you just said of being able to play kind of in tandem whenever everyone's available. There is solo play, there's DM-less games, there's groups. We have a group called Barhaven where literally every day of the week at 6 they post up at a bar, and there's several DMs at several tables, and you just show up with a level 3 character and a dream, and you sit down at a table full of strangers. You get discount drinks the whole night, and you just go. And they'll have every kind of game. Yeah. They'll be if you're experienced, here you go. If you want to play a Barbie Dreamhouse chaotic getaway, here you go. They have all sorts of games that you can just hop into. And then, hey, you're meeting people, you're finding new ways to play. And eventually you will find a group, or just, take up the mantle yourself and be a GM. Because
for sure.
It's definitely more accessible than people. It's very intimidating. But I think once you've even given it a shot as like, play a very simple 1-page one-shot and just see if you like it.
Yeah.
And at that point, it becomes less intimidating. And I feel like once I had like a couple sessions in, I had the confidence to be like, I prepped nothing and we're just going to fucking roll with it.
Yeah.
And those are often the best sessions because like your players will help you 100%.
Yeah. And I always get caught up when I'm DMing of like, I have to have all the answers. I have to know everything. Like, if I don't explain something vividly enough, then my characters aren't going to see it the way I do. And from what I've learned, they're going to see it more vividly. You could say a 5-word sentence and something's going to populate in their mind and it'll be great. But I always got caught up. I was like, I don't even know how to write my notes to do my first session. And that was like the biggest thing that I got caught up in. I was like, how do I format the notes? Somebody tell me, where's the rubric? And there isn't one, and you don't learn it till you just like do it. And yeah, I would say I did a one-shot, like a Christmas one-shot. Like, oh my God, that was probably like 3 years ago at this point. I picked it up. It was pretty self-explanatory. It was all there. And then I just had to do it. And you will learn so much. And I don't think anybody I played with knew I was like shitting my pants the whole time. Like,
it was the same for me with VTM of like, they knew after the fact when I asked them like 18 times if they actually enjoyed the session or if they were giving me like with love, but they were like, no, we actually enjoyed it. And like, at some point I'm like, I have an obligation to believe you, so I'll stop. This is a me problem.
Yeah. They're just happy that somebody let them play a game. Like
100%.
Yeah.
100% of the time. Yeah. Well, we're actually coming up on our time. Surprisingly, that kind of flew by. But this was so lovely. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. Give us a little goodbye and also let them know where they can find all your good adventures.
Yes. Yeah, so again, Campbell and me are from the Gals and Goblins podcast. You can find it anywhere podcasts are available. We are also on TikTok and Instagram, Gals and Goblins. You should be able to find us easily. We have a Discord. I'll send the link so you guys can drop it in your show notes if you want. Or you can find it on anywhere on our stuff, honestly. And the other, what did I talk about? Tabletop Town app. You can download it in the App Store right now. We met the like creator of it and she was really cool. It's like female-led creator. Yeah, that's a good one. And yeah, look at your local game stores too if you want good resources. And come check out our actual play if you like Magic Academies and friends just being friends around a table.
Heck yeah. Thank you so much, ladies. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Table Talk is a podcast brought to you by Mythos Media Productions, bringing you a new episode every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts. Find us on Instagram and TikTok at Table Talk RPG, or check us out at our website, mythosmediaproductions.godaddyscites.com. All business inquiries can reach out to us via email at info@mythosmediaproductions.com.